We continue now at the top of Daf Yomi Aleph Meseches Yoma. This is Yoma Daf 19a. The Gemara says, Tana, it was taught, Lilamdo Chafina. They would teach the Kohen Gadol the Chafina. That's the avod of taking the fistfuls of the Ketores to do the avod of the Ketores. And Yoma Kippurim, Rashi says, Tana Lilamdo Chafina, Molichin Oso Leveis Avtinas. They took him to the Beis Avtinas, Shesham HaKetores Motzei. That's where the Ketores was, and therefore they could teach him this avoda. And the Gemara continues, Amar Papa says, Shtei lishkos hayu lo leKohen Gadol. There were two lishkos, two chambers for the Kohen Gadol, Achas lishkas parhedrin, ve'achas lishkas beis avtinas. One was the lishkas parhedrin, one was the lishkas beis avtinas. Again, Rashi says, lishkas parhedrin, lishon sham, that was to sleep there, and lishkas beis avtinas was lilmod chafina, in order to teach him this avoda of the chafina. Achas b'tzafon ve'achas b'darim, one was in the north, and one was in the south. Achas b'tzafon, one was in the north. Tetnan, as we learned in a Mishnah, this is a Mishnah in Meseches Midos. Vav lishkos hayu be'azara. There were 6 chambers in the Azara. Gimel b'tzafon v'gimel b'darim. 3 were in the north, 3 were in the south. Shebedarim, the ones in the south were lishkas hamelach, lishkas haparva, lishkas hamadichin. Those were the 3 lishkos again that were in the south. And lishkas hamelach, shasham hayu nosin melech lekarban. Why was it called lishkas hamelach, the chamber of the salt? Because there they would put the salt for the karbanos. Lishkas haparva, what was the lishkas haparva? Shasham hayu molchin oros kachim. Over there is where they would actually salt the hides of the karbanos. V'al gaga haisa beis tvila lekohen gadol b'yoma kippurim. And on the roof of this lishka was a beis hatvila, was a place to immerse for the kohen gadol on Yom Kippur. Rashi over here says, Al gago haya beis hatvila meimaya, and this was a flowing spring of water. Hayuboin l'sham beruma. The water would come over there at the top of that. So again, that was for the kohen gadol to immerse on Yom Kippurim. And lishkas hamadichin, what was the lishkas hamadichin? Sham hayu madichin kirvei kachim. It was over there that they would rinse off the innards of the karbanos. Umisha mesiba ola lagag, and from there was a mesiba that went to the roof. Rashi over here says mesiba binyan avonim. It was a building or a construction of stones. Malos megolgolos vesovavos b'makif amud kemenetz galgal shalgas. It was like a circular stairway again that went up to the roof of the Beis HaParva. And the Gemara continues, Gimel Shebetzafon, the 3 that were in the north of the 3 chambers were Lishkas HaEitz, Lishkas HaGola, Lishkas HaGozis. One was the Lishkas HaEitz, one was the Lishkas HaGola. Rashi says, Lishkas HaGola al Shem Bor, Shakaru Shama Ole Gola. This was because of the pit. We'll mention this in the Gemara in a moment. That was dug over there by those who came up from the exile. And then the last one over here was the Lishkas HaGozis, which literally means the chamber of hewn stone, which we'll discuss in one moment. Lishkas HaEitz, when it came to the Lishkas HaEitz, Amar Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, Shachachti mahoisa mishameshes. I forgot what the purpose, what the function of this chamber was. Abishol says, Lishkas Kohen Gadol hoisa achore shteyen. Behind these 2 chambers, meaning behind the Lishkas HaGola and the Lishkas HaGozis, there was a Lishkas Kohen Gadol. Vegag shloshtan shav, and the roof of all 3 of these chambers was even. And so therefore, this is the point of the Gemara to bring this. You see from over here that in the north, there was a chamber of the Kohen Gadol. That's how the Gemara started off, that there were 2 lishkas for the Kohen Gadol. One was the lishkas parhedrin, one was the lishkas beis avtinas. One was in the north and one was in the south. So here we see the one that was in the north. This is the lishkas Kohen Gadol, again, that was in the northern area. And the Gemara continues, Lishkas HaGola. What was the Lishkas HaGola? Sham haya bor HaGola. That's where the bor, the pit of the Gola was, of those from the exile. V'hagalgol nasan olav. There was a wheel on it. Umisham maspikin mayim l'chol hazara. It was from there that they got water for all the needs that they needed water for in the Azara, for the rinsing of the karbanos, etc. Lishkas HaGozis, what was the chamber of the hewn stone for? Sham haya Sanhedrin shal Yisrael Yoshevis. It was in that chamber that the Sanhedrin sat. V'donas HaKohanim, and they judged the Kohanim to determine which Kohanim had blemishes that could not serve in the Beis HaMikdash and which Kohanim could serve in the Beis HaMikdash. Umisha nimtza bo psul hayalovish shchorim u'mesatev shchorim. Any Kohen who was found to be puzzle would wear black and would wrap himself in black. V'yotzav halachlo, and he would go out and he would leave. V'shalom nimtza bo psul, but any Kohen who was not puzzle, hayalovish levanim, he would wear white clothing, u'mesatev levanim, and he would wrap in white clothing. V'nichnas u'meshamish shemechav haKohanim. And then he would enter and he would serve together with his brethren, the Kohanim. And Achas Bedarim, the Gemara now continues, there was 1 chamber for the Kohen Gadol in the south, Tetnan, as we learned in a Mishnah. And this is also a Mishnah in Meseches Midos. The Mishnah says, Shiva Sha'orim Hayu Ba'azara. There were 7 gates in the Azara. Gimel b'tzafon v'gimel b'daram v'yachad b'mizrach. There were 3 in the north, 3 in the south, 1 in the east. Shebedarim in the south, Shar Hadlaka, one was called the Shar Hadlaka. Sheni lo Shar HaKarban, the second next to it was called the Shar HaKarban. Some changed the text to Shar HaBechoros. Shlishi lo Shar HaMayim, the third one was called Shar HaMayim. Shebe Mizrach, and the one in the east was Shar Nikanor, that was called Shar Nikanor. Ushtei lishkos hayu sham, and there were 2 lishkos, 2 chambers over there. Achas b'yamino v'achas b'smolo, one was to its right, and one was to its left. Achas lishkas pinchas hamalbesh, one was called the chamber of Pinchas hamalbesh. V'achas lishkas osei chavitin, the other one was called the chamber of the osei chavitin. Shebetzafon, and in the north, Shar Nitzos was the gate of Nitzos, literally Nitzos means spark. Uchaminach sadra haya, and there was a portico built over there. V'aliyah benu yolo agabav, and there was an upper story to this portico. And that was where the guards were. The Gemara continues, V'sham Kohanim Shomer Milmala. Over there, the Kohanim would be guards up on top. U'Leviim Milmata, and the Leviim would guard down below. V'shelifnim Heimenu HaChel, right within there, inside of there was the Chel. Sheni lo Shar HaKarban, and then next to that gate, the Shar Nitzotz, was the Shar HaKarban. Shlishi lo Shar Beis HaMokad. And next to that, the third to that, was called the Shar Beis HaMokad. Betanyan, we learned in a Braisa, Chamesh Tevilos V'asora Kiddushin Tovel Kohen Gadol. There were 5 immersions and 10 sanctifications that the Kohen Gadol immersed, Umekadesh Bo Bayom, and sanctified himself on that day on Yom Kippur. V'chulon B'kodesh, and they were all done in the holy areas of the temple, Al Gag Beis HaParva, on the roof of the Beis HaParva. Chutz Mizu, except for this particular one, we'll see Rashi on all of this. Shahaisa B'chol, which was in the area of Chol, Al Gabe Shar HaMayim, on top of the gate of the waters. Uvitzad Lishkaso Haisa, and it was next to his lishka. And the whole point of bringing this was to bring these 3 words, Uvitzad Lishkaso Haisa. You see that there was a lishka of the Kohen Gadol in the southern side as well. And Rashi over here explains, Shar Hadlaka, Shar HaKarban, Lo Yadati, Lama Nikra Shemam Kach. Rashi says, I don't know why they were called the Shar Hadlaka and the Shar HaKarban. Shar HaMayim, what's that? Shabo Machnisin, Tzluches Shal Mayim Shal Nisach Bechag. They brought in the water that was used for the Nisach HaMayim on Sukkot. Kach Mefarish B'Shkolim, that's what's explained in Shkolim. The Asara Kiddushin on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol had 10 sanctifications. That means Yod V'Raglav. That means he washed his hands and his feet, Min HaKior, from the basin. Bo Bayom B'Yom HaKippurim. Again, this is talking about on Yom Kippur itself. We're going to learn those out later in the Psukim. They were all done in the holy areas of the temple. And Rashi continues, Al Gag Beis HaParva, these immersions were done on the roof of the Beis HaParva. Shahaisa Benuya B'Soch Azar Mekudeshes, meaning that was built inside the Azar, that was in the holy part of the temple area. And so those, again, as we said, all those immersions were done by Kodesh. Chutz Mizu, except for this one, meaning the Tefillah Rishona. The first immersion was done in the Chol area of the Beis HaMikdash, She'ein above V'shvil Yom HaKippurim, because that first immersion has nothing to do with the Avod of Yom Kippur. She'av Kol Yemos HaShana Sheninu B'Perek Gimel Ein Adam Nichnas Li'Azara. We already learned that all year a person doesn't enter the Azara, Afilu Tar, even if the person is pure, Ad Sheyitvol, until he immerses. So that first immersion, the whole point is in order to enter the Kodesh, so obviously it's done in the Chol. Avol Tvilos Habos Machmas Yom HaKippurim. But those Tvilos that are done because of Yom Kippur, but in a Makom Kaddish, they need to be in a holy place. That's what it says in the Psukim. V'rochatz es besor v'mayim b'makom kaddish. It says he has to wash in an area that is holy. Uvitzad lishka sohaisa. Finally, it ended off and said this was near his lishka. Alma lishka yesh lo b'darim. You see that the Kohen Gadol had a chamber of his own in the southern part of the Beis HaMikdash. And the Gemara continues, V'lo yadana, I don't know, Lishkas Parhedron B'tzafon, is the Lishkas Parhedron the one that's in the north? V'lishkas Beis Haftinas B'darim, and the Lishkas Beis Haftinas, that's the one that's in the south. Oh, or is it the opposite? Lishkas Beis Haftinas B'tzafon, maybe the Lishkas Beis Haftinas is in the north. V'lishkas Parhedron B'darim, and the Lishkas Parhedron is the one that's in the south. Umistaber, the Gemara says, it makes sense to say the Lishkas Parhedron B'darim, that it was the Lishkas Parhedron that was the Kohen Gadol's chamber. That one was the one that was in the south. B'darim Havoy, it was in the south. My time, and what's the reason? Why is it logical to say this? Maktim koyu Meseches ragla v'tavil. He gets up early in the morning, he goes to the bathroom, and he immerses himself, and again, that's in the south. V'yazil etzaf, and then he goes to the north, v'gamar chafina, and he learns the process of taking the fistfuls for the ketoras. He learns what he's going to be doing on Yom Kippur. V'yasil leBeis HaMikdash, then he comes to the Beis HaMikdash, v'yavid avoda kula yom, and he serves, he does avod in the Beis HaMikdash all day. Levahade panya, then towards the evening, madu aleh, they sprinkle the mechatas on him. V'hader azul adarim, then he goes back to the south, v'tavil, and he immerses again, v'nayech, and he rests. And again, the idea is this is in the 7 days of preparation for Yom Kippurim. He learns all of the avod in this fashion. And the Gemara continues, the Amr Lishkas Parhedron B'tzafon. If you're going to say that the Lishkas Parhedron is in the north, Maktim Koi is going to get up early, Umesach Raglav, and go to the bathroom. V'yazil Adarim, then he's going to go to the south, V'tavil, and he's going to immerse. V'gamar Chafina, and then he's going to learn again the avodah of the chafina. V'yasi lebeis hamikdash, he's going to come to the beis hamikdash. V'yavid avodah kula yoma, then he's going to do the avodah the whole day. Lahadei panya, and then in the evening, madu aleh, they're going to sprinkle upon him the mechatos. V'hadar azal adarim, and then he's going to go to the south. V'tavel, and then he's going to immerse. Uvoy mahadir umezel etzafon, and then he's going to have to go back all the way to the north. Umeinach, and he's going to have to rest. That doesn't make any sense. Umitarach matrachinan lei kuli hai. Would we make him bother so much to go back and forth in that fashion? But the Gemara asks, Alama lo mitarchinan lei tzvei. Why not make it a bother for this Kohen Gadol? Di tziduki hu lifrosh. That way, if he's a tziduki, he'll separate. He won't want to be involved. It's a good way of dissuading people who are tzidukim from serving in the Beis Hamikdash on Yom Kippur. Inami or shelo tazuach daito olav. We want to keep him busy so that he should not become haughty, so he shouldn't become arrogant. And the Gemara says, Dilo temach. If you didn't say this, navdinu l'tarvaya b'hadi adadi. If we're trying to do this for convenience, why not make the two chambers right next to each other? Inami or tiskile b'chada. Just give him one chamber. So clearly, we're not trying to make it convenient. So you have no proof where each particular chamber was. And the Gemara continues quoting the Mishnah of Yamru lo ishi kohen gadol v'chulu. They administer the oath, and the Mishnah says what the oath is. And the Gemara says, Leimo tavi tiyufta de Rav Huna breid Rav Yoshua. Let us say that this Mishnah is a refutation of Rav Huna breid Rav Yoshua. Rashi over here says, Leimo tavi masnisin de katani atosh luchenu. It says in the Mishnah, you are our shliach, tiyufta de Rav Huna. It seems to be a refutation of Rav Huna. Diyamar Rav Huna breid Rav Yoshua, because Rav Huna breid Rav Yoshua said, Hani kahani shluchei de rachmonaninu. The kohanim are actually shluchim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rashi says, Hani kohani ba'akrabas karbonosav. When the kohanim bring their karbonos, shluchei de rachmonaninu, they're shluchim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'lo shlucheinu, they're not our shliachs. B'nafkamina di'ihu mudar hanami menu, mutar lo shiyakrav olav karbonosav, k'etzanan ben adorim. The nafkamina is, let's say somebody takes an oath not to derive benefit from a kohen, the kohen could still bring karbonos on that person's behalf, because he's not a shliach of the individual, he's a shliach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if you say they are shluchim, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yotes Amud Beis.